Although she was getting up in age, she was more active than many of her peers and made a point to bring them meals and drive them to doctor's appointments or take them out of the house for a while. Pat, Sarah, and Cindy are just a few of the dear friends that she cared for, even in their last days. Most days, Margaret volunteered at a local clinic where she greeted patients, helped people into wheelchairs, and showed them the way to a direct doctor's office. In 2011, she lost her vision due to a stroke and moved to Fort Worth where her daughter Sally lived, and Charlotte was only an hour away. Margaret's health declined until she went to the Lord on August 18, 2013. The things that I remember about my grandmother are sending me Easter outfits every year, complete with a hat, gloves, shoes, and a purse. I remember Thanksgiving trips to Georgia where we would go out to a large plantation and have lunch together and take carriage rides. Because she worked at the Lancome counter for many years, her signature perfume was Lancome Trésor. Just a few days ago, I came across a bottle and it smelled just like her. I remember waking up every Saturday morning to my dad talking to Grandma Margaret on the phone. I can't say that I remember a time when my dad ever missed a call, even if we could only talk for a few minutes. She was a wonderful cook, and I remember her teaching me how to make biscuits, homemade fried chicken, and cornbread in a cast iron skillet. I remember never leaving her house empty-handed. Whether it was clothes she thought would look pretty on me, a few dollars, or something she didn't need around the house anymore, she always had something to give. Grandma Margaret didn't have much, but she gave and gave selflessly to those around her. I remember her sitting at the front row of our wedding, and how much it meant to me that she could be there for our special day. That was one of the last times that she was able to be out and about, and I thank God for giving us that blessing. When we knew the end was near, Scott and I were able to come to Fort Worth to see her in the hospital. When we had visited her a few times before, she had been asleep or out of it from medication. But I know God had a hand in that day, because when we came to visit her, she was completely lucid. We were able to tell her everything that was going on in her lives, ask her questions about her life growing up, and we're able to tell her that we loved her, and she said the same in return. I'm so grateful for that blessing. I know that it came from God. My grandmother was a strong woman who endured a lot in her life. She was a loyal servant and the care for her husband for many years, the care for her friends and her family. She never stopped working until God called her home, and now He is giving her rest from her work for many years.
Going to try to get pop up so I'm careful. Yeah, I respect it. So bear with me. I'm chose the first thing to say. Go through it. It's running up, so I'll try to keep the coffee sipping to a minimum. My name is Geoffrey Green, and Margaret Elkins is my granny. Since we're gathered to remember her in various ways in which she has touched and impacted our lives, I felt it appropriate to share some of the things that I learned. The importance of a presentable appearance. Granny always had to have her makeup on, and her hair just so. Though for those of you that knew her, you know it never was good enough. My hair just looks awful. It's all this humidity, or it's just so dry out. Or even, this shampoo I'm using just won't hold a curl. Those were generally the first words I heard out when you saw her. Her hair was a constant source of disappointment. I don't think the woman was ever pleased with it. One particular stubbornly refused to let doctors see her with her hair in such a state. So we had to take her to see her stylist before we could get the emergency room. Not many people can say that their hair appointment was a matter of life or death. But for my granny, it really was that important. Now this one may seem like it should fall under presentable appearance, but for those who know, it deserves to be mentioned separately. The importance of dental hygiene. Proper dental care was nearly an obsession with my granny. It was so important that her morning brushing couldn't even wait until after breakfast. Every morning, every magazine she owned had a cover devoid of corners, as they have long since been torn off and used as makeshift toothpicks. Back when I was a teenager, and Granny still lived in Georgia, my brother, Trey, and I flew out to spend a week with her. Before we even got to her apartment, she was telling us we needed to make sure our teeth were brushed. You remembered to bring your toothbrushes, didn't you? Well, unfortunately for Trey, his toothbrush was still sitting in his holder back in Texas. After the initial shock of that anyone could forget something so incredibly important, she took a detour and stopped at the nearest pharmacy. Trey was soon the proud owner of an extra-large tube of toothpaste and a 3-pack of toothbrushes. Just in case. We were there for a whole week after all. And here's one, I can't believe I forgot to write this in here, but I have to mention it. Always carry a Kleenex. We have her now. Granny and her Kleenex. She always had one in her hand. If you went into her bed, there were wads of them under her pillow. She always had one in her hand. To describe her relationship with Kleenex, you'd think I was talking about a junkie. She had them stashed around the house, in her purse. She even put them in her shoes for extra padding. She had them so, always carry a Kleenex. How to give effective and understandable directions. Anyone can give directions, but giving good directions can be quite a difficult task. It is especially challenging when dealing with a person who has no knowledge of the area or can't remember street names. When my wife and I drove out to Rome, Georgia to visit her, we learned firsthand that my granny had created a solution for dealing with that dilemma. Well-known landmarks. Once you get off the highway, go down until you see the McDonald's and take a right. Take a left 2 lights after Taco Bell. Turn right when you see the Crystals, but get to KFC, you don't too far. Pay attention to the little things. Back when I was in elementary school, Granny and Papa lived with us for a time. As you can probably guess, I have a lot of interesting and cherished memories with them. One that really stands out happened on what started as a fairly normal summer day. It was late afternoon, parents had yet to come home from work, and Granny went to make a pitcher of sweet tea. She loved her sweet tea. That woman loved sweet tea. As usual, she put the pot on the stove and left it to boil. Shortly after that, the house began to fill with smoke, and the fire alarm started to blare. Acting quickly, she ran inside the house and called the fire department and got us down the street. Once she deemed we were at a safe distance, we stayed there. My mom, coming home from work, pulled up. And my granny, very matter of fact, said, "Don't go in the house, it's on fire." Thoroughly caution was laid. My mom rushed into the burning house to save photo albums and other irreplaceable things. Only it wasn't burning. There was smoke, of course, but there was no heat. Upon entering the kitchen, where the smoke was the thickest, she discovered the heat source. There was a bright red glow coming from the stove. You see, my mom had these decorative burner covers. So, if you don't pay attention to them, the little things will get you every time. Don't lose your momentum. When you think of the elderly, you usually get an image of someone feeble, slow, someone taking it easy in their twilight years. That wasn't my granny. She was always moving and doing, whether it was cleaning her church after service, volunteering at a harbor clinic when she lived in Rome, or driving up to Berry College to enjoy a walk on the expansive and beautiful school grounds. Even after she lost her eyesight, she successfully drove herself to the corner store and back just because she didn't want to have to wait for someone else to take her. That one gave us a pretty escape. You'd think she would have decided to take it slow and easy after that, especially when she got a walker to move around, but not even that stopped her. She made a very impressive effort tried to take the trash out by herself, without telling anyone. With walker and trash bag in hand, she made it down the 5 concrete steps just outside the door, over the curb, past the parked cars, all the way to the dumpster before she fell and fractured her pelvis. But she, when asked why she did it, she said, "I wanted to see if I could." And then she said, "Now I know I can't." that was the kind of stand by your beliefs. I consider myself to be an open-minded person. I try to understand both sides of any situation. My granny, on the other hand, was quite opposite. Her ideas and beliefs were very set in stone. Whether they were political, social, racial, religious views, they could have been outdated, misinformed, but she knew what she believed, and she stood by it. Sometimes quite stubbornly. Her beliefs were a comfort to her. She always knew that was what she believed. And I always admired her conviction and dedication. While I value my flexibility, I think rigidity in that sense is also a very important trait to have. And last but not least, how to love a grandchild and spoil them rotten. My granny used to tell me about how I would cry for her over the phone when I was a baby, and it would break her heart that she couldn't be with me. Growing up, she did so much for me and took every opportunity to show me she loved me. Whether it was buying me the latest action figure or making a fresh pot of greens just for me, taking me to the swimming pool, or sitting through hours upon hours of cartoons, she loved and cared for me, and it was clear that I was never far from the problem. My granny was a strong and spirited woman. I feel lucky to have known such an interesting and loving person. I'm so glad that she was able to meet my children, my 3 children, and be a part of their lives. And when I talk about my granny, they know what a special woman